Okay, welcome everybody to our final webinar of the summer called Are you ready to get going for your fall? My name is Brad Sagan. I'm the director of marketing at PrestoSports, and glad to have you guys here with you. I know a new year brings a lot of excitement and a lot of stress, so we're here to help. Here today we've got Maddie Martinez. She is a lead in our support division, and we also have Brent Hager from Sport Management Solutions. So Brent is an SID, a working SID like you, and does a lot of this stuff on a daily basis. So with that, Maddie is going to go ahead and go through a lot. Brent's going to add a lot of value here and kind of give you some interesting thoughts. What I ask is that you use the Q&A feature in order to ask questions. So please go ahead and use the Q&A button instead of the chat. And if you put it in the Q&A, we'll go ahead and get to your questions. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Maddie and we'll get going. Thanks, Maddie.
Yeah, hi everyone. Welcome to the webinar. Like you said, my name is Maddie. I am the support team lead here at Presto. And today I'm going to be walking you through just some tips and everything you need to know to streamline your season setup for the year. That way you're set up to be efficient for entering in all of your content throughout the upcoming season. So can everyone see my screen okay? Yep.
Looks good.
Okay. Perfect. So there's two places, and this is something that quite a few people get confused. So we have kind of two sets of clients that may be on this call today. One client may only use our stats product, and the other client may have a Presto website with us and also utilize our Presto stats. So if you have a website with Presto Sports, you want to make sure you're always logging in to your Presto Sports website specifically. So you could log in to prestosports.com/admin, and that will take you to a page where you can log in. But this is not going to allow you to edit any of your website content. So it's important for my website clients that you all are logging into your specific website. And all you do to log into that site is go to your site and delete everything up until the .com and then enter in /admin. That will take you to the login page and then you can log in. All of my clients who are only using us for stats, you can log in to the general Presto network, prestosports.com/admin, and you'll be able to do everything you need on that website. So when you first log in, this is the page that you'll see. So you'll see this calendar of events, some previous events, the events that are happening on that specific day, and then some future events. This allows you to just get kind of an overview of a week's worth of events and can help you navigate to those specific games and seasons quicker. You'll notice over here on the right side, there is a list of seasons. And for the purpose of today's webinar, I'm using a demo site with some unofficial seasons. So you'll have a lot more seasons, access to seasons over here. And you can go directly to those seasons there, or you can click this view all seasons button, and that will take you to a screen where you can view all of them. You'll also notice this little Help Center button up here. This will take you directly to our Help Center, which has a ton of archives, or all of our archives of our help articles, which could be extremely useful for you or any of your team if you need to research or learn. Our help articles always have a step-by-step written instructions and a screen recording video of how to do said article or whatever you're looking up need help with. So that's a helpful resource there. You can also access all of your seasons through this seasons button here. So when you click on this and you're ready to set up your new season, you're going to see all of your current seasons on the left-hand column. So these are seasons that are open and available and ready to set up and are current. You can also navigate to all of your seasons for that specific sport through the column on the right-hand side here. So if you need to access any previous seasons or maybe see if we've opened up the next year or the next season for you to set up, you can navigate to those seasons on the right hand side. So you'll probably have a lot of past seasons, and then you might even have, as soon as the season's over, we might roll over the new one for you to set up. You can access that directly through the sport, through this right hand column. So for today, we're going to be using this unofficial basketball season. So when you're ready to set up your season, you're going to click on it. It's going to say, NCAA men's basketball 25-26 or something of the sorts. You're going to see that I have this red kind of warning sign that my site doesn't have this section set up, which means my site, I haven't set up the season. If I navigate to the schedule, I'll get this yellow warning also that says, hey, I haven't set up my season yet. You can see I could still enter in some content, but since my season isn't set up, I'll be missing a few aspects. That's important for moving forward. You want to make sure that you have the season completely set up before adding any content in. So to do that, you'll just come up here and click this Setup Season button. And then you'll see all of these yellow warning signs. This means these have not been set up yet and they need to be set up. So we're going to click the Setup button. And then for my website clients, so people who have a PrestoSports website, these titles here are the titles that will show up on these specific pages. So on your schedule page, whatever title you enter in here is what will show up on your website. So you want to make sure that, whatever you enter in, you're okay with your fans seeing that as the title. So I'm going to go ahead and enter in all of the titles that I would like here. Again, add whatever information, whatever title you would like, and go through there. Then you'll also notice that there are these select teams. So add your team to your schedule. This is really important and sometimes a step that people miss, and it causes some issues with the schedule. This fails to link the schedule to our network, which means your opponents and the schedule that's being posted to your website, you're not going to be able to view if you don't add your team to them. So we're going to go through and add our team to each file. And then down here, also very important, add your team to these stats files as well. That way, any career stats, past stats, any future stats, they're all linked to your specific team. And to save you some time, go through and click the team for each drop down and then click add team one time. Otherwise, if you go through, click your team, click add team, it's going to reload the page every time. It's a lot faster just to select your team within the drop down and click add team one time. And before we move on, I also wanted to just highlight this hide schedule checkbox. So we have a hide schedule, hide roster, hide coaches. This is for the purposes of our Themes 2 sites. As soon as you set up the season, if you don't hide the schedule, fans will be able to access that schedule within the archives of your website. So if you don't want fans to view the schedule or the roster yet, just go ahead and click these hide schedule, roster, and coaches buttons. And that way, once you're ready, you can post it and it's not automatically getting posted. So now we're ready to add the teams. We're going to click that one time, come down here and click Setup Season. And you'll see I missed adding a team to one of the stat files. So I still have this yellow warning sign, and before moving on, I want to make sure I have no yellow warning sign. So I'm going to go back in and click Setup, see which one I'm missing. So I missed adding my team to the leaders page, and then I'm going to click Add Team. Once I click Setup, I'm going to get this nice job. You're all set up, no yellow warning sign, so we're good to go. So we're going to go back into the season. And on the schedule page, now I'm ready to add my schedule to either my website or for my stats clients, you can add your schedule here as well. You don't necessarily have to add every single event for my stats only clients. If you only want to stat a few games or certain games within our system, you only have to add those events. If you want to have your entire schedule uploaded, you can add every event too. And then you'll also notice there may be some events in here already when you set it up, and that's because your opponents may have already added the events to their schedule, so that will show up here. And then you just need to add the additional ones for your team. You do that by clicking Add Event, walking through the process, picking the date, the time of the game. You're going to pick the opponents, the home and the visitors, and add any additional information here. Location, neutral site, venue, any notes for the game. And then you might notice that this section here for the description and the type, this looks a little bit different than previous. And that's just because we added this stats count button. So previously it was already checked as regional or in region, and that was our stats count button. So now we have a specific stats count button that allows you to select what type of event this will be. So is it going to be an exhibition, a scrimmage, or is this a regular season game where you do want the stats to count? That button is automatically checked by default. So if you do not want the stats to count for this game, just make sure you uncheck that box. And then you can go through and check the box next to whatever description and status that best fits this game. If you are a website client and you will be running Presto stats for this specific event, and you want a live stat link to display on your schedule, you'll want to make sure to check the box next to prime time. This will generate a live stat link on your schedule on your website. This is specific only to Presto Sports websites. So if you have a different website, but you use us for Presto Stats, there is a different process for you. You do not need to enable prime time because that is only for Presto websites. So once you've added all the information, you'll click save. And now we have our event here. If you click on the date of the game, you'll be able to view the event details page. This gives you all the information for the event. This is where you can launch Presto Stats, and it will open the application for you to start the game. You can also view any of the links that have been posted. So because I clicked prime time, it auto-generated some live stat links for me. And I just want to publish the one for my website. If my opponent also wants the live stat link displayed on their website, if they also have a Presto website, they can publish that event, or you could do it for them here. If you want to add an external link, so if you have tickets that you're selling for this game on a third-party website, if you are gonna run a live video for this game, let's say on your YouTube channel, you could come in here, add the external link, paste the URL to your YouTube channel page for this specific event, and then click add. That will add a link here that you can publish or unpublish for this specific event. So once you've added all of your events here, one thing you do want to remember to do for my website clients is add the schedule to the composites. So you want to click the add to composite button, check the box next to all the composites, and click save. This will post the content onto your website. So if you're not ready for the schedule to be posted, do not complete that step yet. Whenever you are ready for the schedule to be posted on your website to your scoreboard component or the composite schedule within your website, you could click the add to composite button. A tip that I don't know if everybody knows that you could do this here. We do have a bulk edit schedule option. If you click this edit schedule button, you are able to bulk edit your schedule. So you could check the box next to whichever events fall under this category, and let's say mark them as conference, mark them as region. You could mark them as to use prime time. So if you set up all of your events, but you're not sure which ones you will be statting yet, you could set up your schedule and then go back through and bulk edit those events, check the box next to the ones that you're using prime time for, come in here, mark as prime time, and click apply. You can also do the reverse and remove it this way as well. We also do have, I just want to point out briefly, an option to import a CSV here if you do have one for your schedule. So moving on, after you've set up your schedule, you'll want to come in and set up your roster. You'll see when I initially click on the roster tab here, it's taking me to the shared roster tab. So we have two sub tabs within the roster. And it's important that my website clients are always working out of the BIOS roster. You'll see I get a first time synchronization pop up here. It's just telling me that, hey, I can add my players from last year if I click the import players button. So for website clients, again, it's really important. You only ever have to work out of your BIOS roster. And this is because the BIOS roster syncs directly to the shared roster but the shared roster does not sync directly to the BIOS roster. So to save you some time, just work out of your BIOS roster, and that way you don't have to enter your roster twice. For my stats only clients, you guys will only have access to the shared roster. This is where you'll work and add all of your players here. So if you are importing players from last season, I'm not going to have the option here because I'm on a demo site with a demo RPI code, but you will have the option to import players from last season. Go ahead and click that button. It will walk you through the steps to import the players, import their bios and their headshots, and that will save you some time. And then you can just go through and add one player for your new players that have joined the team.
Hey,
Before,
Maddie, can I jump in real quick? We've got a
absolutely.
question that's timely. Can you
Yeah.
sync the shared and seasons roster?
The shared and seasons roster. So you can't, so if the question is if you can sync from last season, you can't for the shared roster. You every year you'll have to add all of your players new to the shared roster. We do have the option to import a BRO if you do have that, or you can import a lot of players at once by following this specific format. But every year, if the question is if you can import from last year, you can't within the shared roster. You can if you are a website client and have access to the BIOS roster.
Maddie, if I could jump in real quick too, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
If the question's also, can you take your shared roster and import it into your BIOS? Yes, you can. You can go to the import players button right there on the screen. It'll have an option to import to synchronize your. I'm sorry, go back. I apologize. Hit cancel.
yeah,
It's there'll actually be a synchronize button if there's already a roster in there.
yeah,
It allows you to sync your shared roster into your BIOS roster. So if you have set your roster up in the shared roster section, you can sync it over into your BIOS. It's not going to have all of the information that you may need for the front end of your website, so it doesn't have like a headshot attached or hometowns, high schools, things like that. You can always add that stuff in after you sync it over from your BIOS. If all you have from last year is a TRO, TRX, or BRO file for your roster, you can import that roster in to the shared roster and then move it over into your BIOS. That's not a really a common scenario, but that is an option as well. You'll just have to go in and add the additional content later on.
yep. So if you already, like you mentioned, if you already have your shared roster added, there'll be a blue sync players button here in between these two. You could just click that button and it will let you import and sync your players from your shared roster into your BIOS roster. Um, So moving forward, as soon as you do import your players from last season and you're ready to add any additional new players, you'll want to, before you do that, you'll want to come here and edit settings. So any fields that you have showing on your website already, you'll want to make sure that you have those fields checked within the settings. So if hometown is showing height, weight, and let's say high school is also showing, you'll want to check those boxes here. Click save. That way, as soon as you go through and add your new players, you will have access to add that information here for each player, and you won't have to go back and redo all of that after you've added the new players. Here is the new player adding screen. So when you're ready to add new players, you just fill out this information. You can add the headshot for that player here. This is where you can show them and sync them to the shared roster. So this is why we say for our website clients, just work out of the BIOS roster because this is where you sync them to the shared roster and you don't have to do that twice. So you just want to make sure that the box is checked next to show shared roster, add their stats player number. So just whatever number they're going to be wearing in the games, you add that here. You make sure that they're selected as a new player and make sure that they are checked to be active and shown on the shared roster if they will be participating in the games. This is where you can add their bio information here. So once you're done and you've added all of your players, I'm just gonna show you real quick what it looks like within the shared roster. So this is for my stats only clients. You will come over here and see the shared roster. This is the only screen that you'll have access to within the roster tab. So you'll just add your players one by one, or like I said, if you do have a roster file, you can upload that as well. So all you want to do is make sure that they are set to active, add the player information, and like Nick mentioned, you don't have access to add all of the information that you do for a website. So some of this information may be pertinent to your stats or your players, but really it's just important they have a number, a name, and that they're active on the shared roster. Then you're going to click save, and you'll see here they have we have a column for player status. This is a quick overview to see if which players are active and inactive. You just can mark them active or inactive by this checkbox right here. So once you've added all of your players, my stats only clients, it will be important, like I mentioned earlier, if you have a different website, if you have a website that is not a Presto website, and you're using our stats product, you want to send those live stats to your website, you will need to set up stat partners, and that's within the stats tab. When you're in the stats tab to set up stat partners, you just click on the stat partners button, click edit partners, and then add whatever information is relevant to your website here. We also have some options for an FTP server if we don't have your option up here at the top. We also have the option to send post-game stats to an email address. So if you like a specific email address to receive the stats after the game is over, you can add that email address here and check this box.
Maddie, we got a question from the chat on roster headers and how do you customize a roster header?
Could they provide a little bit more information on what header, what they're talking about for headers? Is that like a headshot or the title of the
The
roster?
title of the roster.
Yep, so the title of the roster is you make that title or you add that title for your website within the season setup. So this section here within bios, this is going to be the title of your roster on your website. So you can make this whatever title you would like to display at the top of your roster on your website.
Cool.
And you can edit that anytime during the season. So if you want it to be changed, you can go and click season setup like I just did and update that information right there.
Actually, sorry to interrupt. I meant the category title. So if it's got, number, name, seasons, position, and all that.
Yeah. So that's actually done within our options file. So that's a little bit more complex that you may need to schedule like some office hours with us so we could go through that with you directly. We also do have a help article for the options file for roster options specifically. So you do have to customize your roster options and then just make sure that those options are checked within the settings. So it works together and it is a little bit more complex. So that's kind of maybe a different topic that we could go over one-on-one, maybe through some office hours.
And that's also something that we're doing education on our Facebook page currently. We're doing an entire options file series. So take a look at that, and if it's not already posted in there about the roster options files, I'm going to go ahead and drop something into the chat while we're on here. So it's a help article on kind of how to utilize that. I still recommend getting office hours after you read it, just to make sure you understand everything. But yeah, you can do that on your own for sure.
Yep. So once you've set up stat partners, I just want to highlight that this is something that you have to do for each sport. So I'm setting it up right now for basketball. If you will also be wanting to send live stats to your website, Presto Stats to your website for softball, you'll need to do that within the softball season and so on and so forth for each season that you'll be running live stats for. This is also where you download Presto Sync. So if you're going to be using our Presto Sync product and have access to that, you can download that here. So moving into some more Presto website specific content. So this is really only for my Presto website clients. You will have access to these additional tabs such as releases. So when you're ready to write a release for your basketball team, you'll come in here into the releases tab, click add release, and then it just walks you through basically adding the title for the release, the lead in, the thumbnail. You can write the release within this section. And then once you're ready, you can publish this release to an event by clicking this button, finding the event within your options here and clicking publish. And then you also want to publish this to headlines by clicking the publish to headlines button, selecting all of these so that they do post to your news rotators. And then you also have the option to pre-write the release and post it at a later date by selecting the on button here and selecting a specific date and time when you want that release posted. And then you also have options to add photo albums and video albums through these two tabs. And the reason this is important and I want to highlight this is because this really will keep you organized and help you have archives for each specific sport. So instead of going to your website tab and just uploading, mass amounts of photos for a specific sport or a photo album that maybe is pertinent to basketball only, but you upload it just within your website somewhere, it may be harder to find down the road. And so it's really good to use this photos tab. This also allows you to tag players within each photos, and then that will show up within their bios, which is a cool feature that we have available that I don't feel like too many people utilize, which is really good. It's a really cool feature and keeps you organized throughout the years and is easy to access here in game day for each sport. Within the videos tab, you do have the option to add a YouTube video or just a video that you have on your computer. So once you have your whole season set up and you're ready to post all of your content on your website, like I mentioned earlier, first you want to make sure that you add your schedule to the composites. So again, click that button, check the box next to both composites, and then click save. And then you'll want to come down here and click the nav bars tab and age the season links for both the navbar dropdown and the navbar secondary. If you don't have a navbar dropdown, if you don't have options next to your sports within your dropdown, your sports dropdown, you may not have access to this navbar dropdown. That's okay. Just age the navbars that are available to you. So you can do that by just clicking age season links. Obviously, this is a demo site. I don't have any links to update, so but you will have the option to check the box next to roster, schedule, news, coaches, and you could update all of them. You could only update the roster if you want, or the schedule, and then come in here and update all of them whenever you are ready. But this is how you post the content, the new season content onto your website whenever you're ready to do so. So that is really an overview of how to set up your seasons within game day. Again, you'll have to follow that exact process for each one of your sports. And whether you are using our stats product, you'll have to do that for each stats product that you're using. So if you're using it for baseball, softball, basketball, you'll need to do that for all of those sports. Same goes for my website clients. All of the seasons that you have, you'll need to follow that same process. And then we just wanted to highlight a little bit of user management. So if you are the admin on your account, you will have access, or I should say, if you are the admin on your account and you have a Presto website, you can come to the account tab and click manage users button, and it will take you to the user management portal where you can add any additional users, grant them access to the website, sports, stats, there through the user management portal. If you need to make someone an admin that isn't already an admin, you'll have to reach out to us to do that. And then we also wanted to highlight if you will be statting any neutral site games or events for another team, you'll have to reach out to us for us to grant you RPI access to that team. And we just always suggest doing that a few days or as early as you know. So if you know that you're going to be statting a tournament at your school and you need access to 6 different basketball teams, and you know you're going to be doing that over Christmas break, and you already know the teams, go ahead and reach out to us and ask for that access because we can grant that to you now. That way you don't come game day scrambling around, needing the access, and having it to be an emergency at that point. Go ahead and just reach out to us as soon as you know what neutral site games you need access to, and we can help you with that. And then I just wanted to highlight too, the NAIA does have a little bit different of a setup. So if you need to know, if you're an NAIA client and you need to know how to do that, just reach out to us and we can walk you through that process.
Maddie, we had another question that came in on this, the standings of the series history tabs.
Mhm.
Is that something that they would have to request, or is that an options file that can be Done.
So the series history is something that you have to reach out to us for. This is, I will highlight some, just we don't use this a ton. So you can use it. And it is something that you have to reach out to us for. So if you see this button and you might see the same error, you will have to reach out to us so we can set up the file for you. And then you'll have access to run your series history for this sport. The standings file, you should have access to this tab as long as you do set up the standings portion within the season setup. So notice here, I have this standings portion. As long as you set this up and add your team, you should have access then to this standings tab where you can edit the standings, add, any tiebreaker rules or anything like that here.
Perfect. Thank you.
Brooke?
We do have some other questions in here. I'm going to wait until the end.
Okay.
So just
Yeah, I'm pretty much. Oh, I did want to highlight before one more thing. We do have access to the general releases season. So that is every season we open up a new general releases season. This is really good. You do have to go ahead and set this up, just a few files. But this is good for any releases that are general to your school and not to a specific sport. And we just suggest using this to, again, stay really organized so that general releases for your school aren't in your basketball season, and that makes it harder to find. So utilize the season, add any general releases here, and it works the same as the releases tab like I showed you earlier. But use that for any general news that you have for your school, and then use the releases tab within the specific sport and season for releases only pertinent to that sport.
cool. Thank you, Maddie.
You're welcome.
Brent, anything from your perspective that we missed that you wanted to kind of talk through?
Well, I mean, first, great job, Maddie. I mean, you explained a lot today. But more so that, sport management solutions can help SIDs out throughout the year. I know that things get backlogged a little bit, but we can help out with the articles, writing the releases or previews that you want to do. That's what we're here for. The bios, one of the biggest things that you can have for your alumni later on are the bios. And this is something that we can do for each of the SIDs. We partnered with Presto a few months ago. We would love to jump in and start helping everybody out with that type of stuff to take the workload off of you. And also a little bit with the setup, if you're having questions with that, we can jump in and set up seasons for you as well. I mean, we have great knowledge of Presto. And so anything we can do to help you out throughout the school year before the season starts, we can do for you.
Awesome. I wanted to get to a couple of questions. We did have one that said, is it possible to set up a game where stats count for one team but not the other? So that you can do that in one particular way. So if it's a U Sports team playing an NAIA team, yes. If they're different organizations, which means they're really under a different season, yes, you can do that. If it's two U Sports teams, no. So that's just how the system works. So if that's something that you want to get into and talk about and needing that functionality, make sure you email us, let us know, and we'll take a look at use cases for that. Nick, I
Brad,
saw you unmute.
yeah, there is a kind of a workaround you can do when a situation like that arises. If you are playing a game where the stats are going to count for you, but not for the other team, simply don't tag that team in the game. You would just have to manually bring in their roster. Just make sure when you're doing the setup for the game. So if you want to go into a game there, Maddie, and just go to add events, instead of having the team there, just put in a generic name. Like if you're playing uh, University of Michigan, just type in University of Michigan exhibition or something like that, or test, and just make sure the logo's not showing next to it. Click outside the box and save it. That will mean that it's not going to tag to their schedule. um, it's a workaround to be able to stat the game and not have it impact the other team's overall stats. Otherwise, you can do it kind of like Brad said. If they are in separate seasons, it's not going to impact. Like if you're statting a game within the NAI, which you're playing an NJCAA school for some reason, if you're statting the game within the NAI season, likelihood that team's not actually even going to be in that season to be able to actually tag them. But even if they are, it's not going to impact their overall NJCAA stats. The stats don't go cross season.
And in the case that Nick just gave, if you do just put in like a test or a generic name there, you can actually name it correctly if you just scroll down to customize, and then you can go down. So there you go, Maddie, save and customize. Um, and there you go. And you'll be able to customize it that way, and then you can make that name
Yep. So
whatever you'd
then you
like.
can check the box next to this and then add whatever actual name for the school right here. And that was what will show up on your website. Schedule.
Exactly. Had a question on tournament setup. I don't know if we can do that going through a demo season. I know we can do portion of it. Maddie, is there a way you can show tournament setup?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I can display like, or I think I can show you what it looks like. Just hold on, this is my computer. Yeah, so if you want to set up a tournament, and I can only display what it looks like in game day. The website portion is a little bit of a different portion for the tournaments part. If you're wanting to display it on your website, that might be like an office hours situation where we can show you. But you can click this tournaments button. It will pop open the tournament editor, and you just walk through the steps of add new tournament. It's going to let you put a tournament name. You're gonna have to pick a client. So your school most likely is the only one you're gonna have access to. You might have access to a few others. Pick your school name, pick the dates of the tournament. So we always suggest select a few days before the tournament and a few days after. Sometimes it gets funky if you select the exact dates of the tournament. You may not be able to see those events. So it's always just safe to check the box next to the dates a few days before and a few days after. That way you will have a list of events. So because I'm on the demo site, this is, you'll have a list of events here. I'm not able to see them, but you'll have a list of events. You can scroll through the different dates, select the events that are in the tournament, and then click next. I will mention, just if you have, let's say there's like 20 games within this tournament. Upon the initial setup of the tournament, sometimes it doesn't always want to save if you add all 20 right at setup. So what I always suggest, add 2 or 3 when you set it up. You're going to come in here once you click next and see the tournament. Then you can go back in, click edit details, and go to this events tab and add any additional event of all the additional events here. So that helps. Sometimes if you add 20 upon the initial setup and click save, it doesn't want to save. So that's just a little bit of a funky thing, and a good tip to know. If you do add all of them and it's not saving, try just adding 2 or 3 at first and then going back in and adding the rest. So this will set up the tournament, which then if you do have a Presto website, it allows you to display the tournament name and section of those games on your schedule, and you can make sure that it's set up for that within the season setup. So this portion here where it says tournaments, you just want to make sure that you have selected if you want to show all tournament labels. So this is, or so all tournament events. This will show all the events for the tournament on your own schedule. So if you don't want that, make sure this box is unchecked. And then if you want the tournament labels to show on your schedule, make sure that you uncheck the hide tournament labels button. If you don't want the tournament labels to be displayed, you can check that box, and it will hide the tournament events or the tournament labels. And this is, so if another school has added the tournament already and your team is in the tournament, when you click on this tournaments button, you will probably see, you should be able to see the tournament that's already added. So there's a chance that you're in a tournament, someone else that uses Presto has already added the tournament, and you are already added to that. So you could click that tournaments button and see the tournament here.
It's awesome. Give me 1 second. I'm bringing back up to Q&A. This one's going to be more of a question for Josh Fowler. I know he's on this call. talking about the tournament drop down feature. Um, talking about the drop down was not counting toward the overall record, even though the stats count box was checked. Josh, do you want to weigh in on that one?
Yeah, that's something we could definitely check into. Normally, the way we have the system is uh, the regular season will show non-tournament record, whereas the when you have stats count selected on the tournament game, it would add to the tournament record for that tournament on the front end tournament pages, because we do have tournament only stat pages now. So with that, if you select tournament and stats count, the record gets added um, to those pages, whereas it wouldn't add to your regular season. Now, if it's something to where you want to add it to the regular season, that's something we can talk about and maybe add something there. But as of right now, whenever you're on a tournament, it does not add to your regular season wins and losses.
Cool. And so the tournament feature was really set up mainly for postseason tournaments is really what we're getting down to. So so yeah, we'll definitely take a look into that. Um tournament, does the tournament setup grant access to the host to enter results, or is this just display purposes? Maddie?
Yeah, it doesn't grant you access to the team. So you're not going to be able to see enter results for that team or access their schedule. It's just for display purposes. You do have to reach out to us if you want access to that team schedule and roster in order to run stats for them or enter results for them. We have to grant you RPI access.
Okay. Let's see. Going back through here. Is the composite schedule section new? Last year we had to manually add a page to have exhibition, regular season, and playoff schedules appear together, and it was a bit complicated.
Um, This, as far as this button, is not new, as far as I know. I think it's been here for a while. Could you read that again for the
So the composite schedule section, is that
uh,
new? Last year they had to manually add a page to have exhibition, regular season, playoff schedules appear together, and it was a bit complex. So it sounds like so there is a composite schedule that is a page you do need to add, but when you add that, you can add these individual events into that composite schedule, if that makes sense. So you can do it sports specific. You can do an entire composite schedule if you'd like for all of your sports. And adding to it is just doing that. But you do actually have to create a composite schedule in order to add to it.
And I know, and they might be referencing, I know some of our website clients have a kind of complex setup where they do have separate even seasons. So they might have a post-season season, that's a whole separate one. They might have a championship season, and so they have a schedule for each of those. And they're wanting to display that on one whole, like on one page, and that is a little bit of a complex setup, which might require some office hours to run through if that is how you have your setup on your website. But as far as adding for all of your sports, all of your schedules, adding it to the composite is simply just clicking that button, making sure that the boxes are checked and clicking save. And that will add it to the composite schedule as well as the scoreboard component if you have that displaying on your website.
Okay, perfect. Um, Next question, and Shelby, I may need you to dive into this a little bit more because I want to make sure you understand your question. Do we still need to manually delete previous schedules from the composite schedule area each year? So I guess my question back is, do you want that, is your goal to have that happen automatically, or is your goal, or do you just want to know if you have to delete that?
We ran into an issue a year or two ago, which might have been before we flipped to 2.0, where our composite stopped showing events and we were told we needed to go delete all the previous schedules that were linked to the composite because it doesn't delete automatically. So I didn't know if we still need to be deleting those year by year, or if maybe that was a bug that got fixed with the 2.0 rollout.
So yeah, I don't know, Josh, you can.
Yeah, I can add to it. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, you do have to go in every year and clean up that composite schedule. It doesn't remove them automatically because some people like to have past events, like a schedule that shows past events on like an archive, whereas some, like your whole site one, your main one, you want to have updated to where it shows like your banner and stuff like that. So you do have to go in, remove the previous years and then add this new year. Since it's customizable and people want different things to display, we don't automatically remove anything because then we'll get support tickets on why was this removed. We just have it to where you can maintain it how you see fit.
And I will add, and Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, you don't necessarily have to do that every single year. It's okay to have a few years of schedules in there, I think. I think when the problem occurs when there's 15 years of, 10 sports within your composite, and that's when, it gets really hairy, versus if you have maybe the last 2 years in there, that would be okay. I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, Josh, but
it goes by the total number of events. You got to think the more events that are on that composite schedule and it has to load season after season after season, the slower it's going to be because it has to hit the database multiple times to pull that data. So you don't want 10 years in there because it's going to slow down your site. It's usually you want to keep it up to date. Even the ones that want to put previous years in a composite schedule for archiving purposes, they actually make like a composite schedule for each year, and then they'll put a previous year in there. So you want to try to keep up with it every year just for good maintenance. Now, if you wait a couple years, that's fine, but it's usually best to just do it, at the beginning of the season, and then you're done for the year.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question is, what happens when we don't have the composite button? So is that a bug or is that an indication they don't have a composite schedule file set up?
They don't have the file. So you have to have the file for it to add it to that composite schedule. So it's going to look in the directory. First, you have to have a website, and then it's going to look in the directory to where where it's assigned on your website. So if you don't have that button, more than likely that file isn't there.
If you're a stats only client, you don't have to add your
right.
You're not going to have a composite and all of that. So if you're just using us for stats, you won't see that button there.
Yeah, that's a web only option.
Great. And then let me switch back over to the chat, make sure we're covered there. Sometimes jersey numbers differ with home and away jerseys. Can you give a player two different numbers within their roster? So like a jersey number for home and away, or on light or on dark or something like that?
They would have to be you would have to add the player twice. So they'd have to be on the roster twice. We can't add, you can't have one player and then give this one player two numbers. So
Nick, you just unmuted. I just want to.
Yeah.
Did you have something on that?
Yeah. You're gonna have to assign them one number and make that change as needed. What I would do in that case, if their jersey number is something at home and it's something different away, let the opposing team know if they are going to be starting that game that their jersey number is going to change, and have them change it once they open up the live stats portal. That way it'll still sync the stats to the same person. You don't want to put the same player in there twice, because then you would have to merge them every single time you have a home and an away event. So I would keep them with one number in your roster, and then whatever their away jersey number is, make sure that it gets changed for the let the person know who's standing in the game, like, hey, John Smith is going to be wearing number 12, not 10 today. And they can make that change in the stat program. That's going to keep it clean on your end. You're not going to have two players that you have to merge together, and it's going to allow your stats to display properly.
Yeah, yeah, and that's it. Just to reiterate, best practice is to put the home number on your roster setup in CMS, and then whenever you go into the live stat platform to score the game is when you're going to change the jersey number in there. That way, it doesn't change it in CMS, but it'll still sync because that player is already identified in the stats platform.
If you ever have a situation where the stats are not syncing because of a number change, you can always go into that event within this. If you go back into the event you created there, there's an edit players button. Once the game's been completed, it's right there next to upload box score. You can then assign the stats to the correct player in that spot as well. If you are having that issue. So if you are noticing your stats are not syncing up, probably because of a jersey number change, that's where you can make that adjustment on a game by game basis as well.
He's not. You right now. Go ahead and put it in the stick.
I'm sorry. Oh, looks like that was accidental mute or unmute. Um, let's see. Let me go back to our chat here real quick. See what we got. There was a question on football stats. We're going to be going over that today. We will not. We do have resources on our help center that you can take a look at, and you can also use try Presto Stats at PrestoSports.com. Or try that's the email address to get in, but you can go. I will put the link in for the help center article, so you can go try Presto Stats, and it'll give you login information, so you can kind of walk through that again to kind of get yourself back up and familiar with it. All right. And I think let me see if we have any further questions. Oh, we can see that, Maddie.
Oh, sorry.
Let's see here. Final questions. On a player bio, can you change what tab appears first upon clicking it? I added some bio information to players and it defaults to that first, but I wanted to open the player profile tab.
So they're wanting it to default to the BIOS tab versus the shared roster tab?
Yes.
Yes. So I think if you leave the screen on the BIOS tab, and then let me just double check. When you go back, it should pull you up to the BIOS tab. So if you leave the screen on the shared roster tab, it's going to pull you back up to the shared roster. So if you just always make sure that you end the screen or leave when you leave this page, you leave it on the BIOS, it will take you back to the BIOS tab.
Yeah, Maddie, that's correct. And I just reiterate one more time: if you do have a Presto Sports website, you want to live in the BIOS roster. There's really no need to be in the shared roster going forward once you have a Presto website. If all you have are stats, you're not going to have access to a BIOS roster to begin with, so that wouldn't be an issue. The shared roster is for stats purposes only. So if your coaches are going in to add in their stats or their rosters, make sure that when they go in, if you do have a Presto website, that they're aware that they need to be in the BIOS roster if they want those changes to be made on the front end of your website. If you go in and change a player's name or number just in the shared roster, it will not impact what's being displayed on the front end. However, if you do put the information into the BIOS roster, it does then impact and carry over to your shared roster going forward.
If you log in and you don't see the BIOS tab, most likely you're just logging into the wrong website. So you might just be logging into PrestoSports.com when you need to be logging into your actual Presto website. Again, if you just log into PrestoSports.com, you're not going to be able to see your website content, which means you won't have access to the website tab, quite a few of these other tabs, and the BIOS roster here.
Okay. A couple more questions and then we'll be done for this webinar. Question on basketball stats, on when is that in the roadmap to be upgraded to 2.0? And that's going to be a Josh question.
Yeah, that's definitely a me question. Right now, basketball is not on the calendar, so I do not have a ETA. Right now, we have flag football, football, and tennis. We are currently working on golf. And then after that, we're going to evaluate. Right now, we're thinking we might be redoing baseball and softball, but it could be another sport. We have to get through golf, and then we're going to adjust from there and see where the biggest change needs to happen.
We are establishing an advisory board made up of various SIDs. These are going to be the types of questions we're going to be asking them as well. And so we're definitely confident that we'll be able to come up with a list of solutions for those types of things that make sense for everybody. Um, Question. This is really going to be more NAI related. Presto stats for tennis. Player of the week nominations. Will the stats drop down automate into the nomination form in 2026?
Yeah, we did build a tennis specific award in there. As long as the award's set up as tennis, it will drop down the stats just like the other sports.
Okay. Question about best way to onboard new coaches where they have access to input stats for their specific sport.
So they'll just need a Presto user. So if they don't already have one and you are the admin on the account, you could go to the user management portal and add them and give them access to the website, RPI access to their specific sport, and stats access if that applies. You can also always just reach out to us and we can get them set up and get them a login. But if you are the admin on the account, you can do that on your end through the user management portal.
In terms of training purposes, there are a number of training help articles that you can look at help.prestosports.com. Also, within those sports, it's always best to go to the demo environment as well. And I will drop that. I will put that actually in the follow-up email where you can go try the product out without having to use, real rosters and everything like that. So working within the product will also help to kind of solidify some of that learning. Question on how do I make my hometown visible on the website? I have the info uploaded on Presto, but it's not showing on the school website.
Yeah, so if you have the setting checked for hometown here, and you have added the information for your players, and the hometown is listed here, and it's still not showing on your website, that is a roster options issue, or that is going to be set up within the roster options. So like Brad mentioned earlier, there is a help article for roster options that's really helpful. So if you just go to our help center, type in roster options, you'll find the help article there, and it walks you through what you need to add in order for the that field to be displayed on your website. I think, Brad, and you might touch on this, there's also a Facebook page going on right now where they're talking about the roster options.
Yeah, we do have an education going on about roster or about all roster or all options files right now on Facebook. So definitely follow us there. Every Thursday we touch on something different, and I'm not sure if we've already touched on rosters, but it was one of the first ones that we were doing. So, and that started a couple of weeks ago. So you can definitely check it out there.
The
Uh,
roster options help article I will just add is really helpful. It gives a lot of information there and has a video screen recording walking you through exactly how to edit it and what information you need to add for each specific field. So
Maddie, Brent, I want to thank you guys. Josh, thank you. Nick, thank you for all of your help today. This has been recorded. I'll send this out later today or early tomorrow. We'll go ahead and get this out to everyone. This will also be uploaded on our help center, Facebook, YouTube, you name it. It's going to be a lot of places, and our events page. So we'll get it all up there, and we'll follow up with a deck that also has a lot of great help articles in there, and some nice resources as far as checklists, common things to avoid. So thank you everybody, and we appreciate your time. Have a great day.